of Chester. CMPRadio.net. It's the station.
CMPRadio.net. It's the station. Listen, man, let's cultivate together. Bring us all your show ideas. Content creators, we're looking for that. Videographers, we're looking for that. You can be a part of the next great big thing that takes place right here in Chester, Pennsylvania. Let's cultivate together, man.
All right, good Monday night, everybody. This is Dave Burman. We are live and living color. Another edition of Delco Sports 360. Our engineer tonight is Leslie. How you doing, Leslie? Right on. Okay, great job across the way here. Our studios, it's like we're in the the border of Chester, Upland, and Brookhaven. Beautiful building. It's been around a long time, and so much to talk about tonight. Our special guest is a Delco native, Garnet Valley grad, 1995, longtime sports writer for the Williamsport Sun-Gazette newspaper. Mom lives down here. He's visiting his mother, Chris Masse. Welcome, Chris. There we go, my man.
Great to be here. I appreciate it.
This is great. Last time I saw you was 2015, my last year on the radio up in Mifflin County. I wanted to follow the Loyal Sock Boys basketball team, Ron Inzinger. It was at Cumberland Valley High School as a state playoff game, and they lost a heartbreaker to Del Val Charter of Philadelphia. So, Chris, tell me about your story. And, of course, your dad, Chester High football coach, 1991, 92, 93, 94. He touched a lot of lives, and that's Don Masse. So first of all, back to you, your family. Where'd you grow up?
I started out in the Delco school district, lived in Brookhaven, and moved to Garnet Valley area in fourth grade, 1986, and that became home. It was a good move. Nothing against Sun Valley and Brookhaven, but Garnet Valley, I think, was the right place for me, and I loved it there, and that's what got the wheels in motion for me in the journalism business.
And that area is booming compared to when
crazy.
You were growing up.
Anywhere there was open land before when I grew up there, there's houses now. It's unbelievable. I'm glad I went there when I did, because I actually was able to play sports. I don't think that would be possible now.
It's tough. It's tough, but they have a lot of kids at the school now. And it's, hey, since you're a Garnet Valley grad, a lot of love for Garnet Valley. You have a lot of your Garnet Valley friends checking in. Also, your Williamsport people, right?
Yep.
Paul Bowe and Jimmy Webb. I don't know if Jimmy's watching, but they do a great job up there. And Williamsport and Delco, a lot of connections, especially Williamsport and Chester basketball playoff games, 1984, 1995, 1999, just to name a few. All right, you graduated from Garnet Valley in 1995. As for Garnet Valley, actually started 1965-66 was the first year, at least for sports. Richard Snyder, the head basketball coach. Your year, 95, Jerry Demling, the head coach, 15-12, made it to the States before losing to a team in your backyard, the Cole region area, Mount Carmel. And you want to give a shout, Dave Bidding graduated that year, I believe, or at least he went over 1,346 points, and Nate Daltrey, 1,186 points. And I know Nate's checking in.
Nate the Great.
Nate the Great. I love it.
He had sweatpants when we were in fourth grade in an all-star tournament that had Nate the Great on it, and he was. And Dave was a great player, and I stopped playing after after JV, But Nate will back me up on this. At our senior picnic, I shut Dave Bidding down in our pickup game.
How tall was Dave?
I might have been fouled a little bit, but it counts.
That's okay. I do the same thing because we're not. How tall is? First of all, how tall Dave and Nate? Approximately, do you remember?
I think Dave was probably around 5'10", 5'11". Nate was probably a good six. I'd say 6'4", 6'5", probably.
So Garnet Valley, and then down for, I think they made the playoffs a couple of years after that. Down, Mike Brown, though, has built that program up, and the key is keeping the kids in school away from the private schools we talked about. And the football program at Garnet Valley, you know Coach Mike Rickey very well, just retired. What an incredible career.
Amazing. He was the best teacher I ever had there on and off the field. He coached me in junior high baseball, and then I played football for a year. And, I'm one of many people that'll tell you what a great person he was, not just as a coach, but, he truly loved everybody in that school. And I said when I was going, and when I played, we had 29 kids. We had to play offense, defense, special teams. We had to do everything. Nobody got a break. And I said, man, we knew back then he was a great coach, and having him was an advantage. And I said, if he ever coaches a team, or if this area ever gets built up where he has a lot of talent, they'll become a powerhouse. And that's exactly what happened. He got the resources, and he took him to the mountaintop pretty much.
Yes, he did. 2007 state runner-ups to, I believe it was Mr. Chirpeck again and Thomas Jefferson.
Yep.
And we're going to get to your Williamsport career with the Sun-Gazette, because you've seen a lot of where you are, isolation, but you've seen a lot of teams from all over the place. Chris Masse is my guest here tonight. Tell us about, I saw the picture I put on you, track and field. You did some track and field for the Jaguars.
I did baseball and track and field. It was nice because I was fast, and I said I was the fastest kid in the school, and I think I could back that claim up back then. I don't think I could now. But they were like, well, I was playing baseball full time. They said, why don't you come down for the invitationals and stuff? I was like, I don't have to practice. No, just show up.
Nice.
That was great. And junior year was awesome because we won districts in baseball. We're still the only Garnet Valley team to ever win districts in baseball, which is a nice claim to fame.
That's incredible. That's 1994.
1994.
And who was your coach?
Scott Armstrong. And we had Danny McMillan was our ace pitcher, Dave Nickel, Pat Igo. They were really good pitchers too. I was a weapon. If I got on base, I was a weapon because I could steal like crazy. I stole on Danville's head coach in the state quarterfinals, Devin Noor. I always like to remind him of that.
Oh, because that's your neck of the woods now.
But I won the battle.
So wow,
that was a great. We had a great team. That was a fun ride.
How far did you go in the States?
Quarterfinals. We lost to ironically Southern Columbia, team that I cover a lot. Not in our primary area, but a team obviously that I see a lot when they play our area team. So it still sticks in my craw. We should have the better team to not win that day, but it happens.
It is what it is. That was 94. The 95. Tell us about your senior year.
Yeah, it's funny. Not funny, ironic. I said, one of these years I'm just going to concentrate on track to see how good I can be because I was the anchor for a 4x1 team, and we won a district medal my junior year. So I said I got to try this full time, and So I gave up baseball my senior year, concentrated on track full time, and had a good year, but I wasn't as good as when I didn't practice at all. Go figure. And
Right.
It was still a good year. We won a couple of medals, but it was kind of a disappointment. But it was fun. I was the captain, and all those senior memories that you look forward to, I got to be a part of, and that was neat.
Before that, Chris, your younger days and your dad, he was a Chester High grad in 1961.
Yep.
So you heard all the stories about the great Chester teams of the 50s and the 60s. 0 for 7 in the state title games, by the way. But at least we got there.
Exactly.
You know
It's
what I mean?
hard to get there.
And then we won 8 since. Tell us about your dad, his career, and then going to Chester High. And you said you were water boy too, right?
Ball boy, yeah.
Ball boy.
Yeah, that was great. He graduated there in '61, played a little semi-pro football for a few years, and then came back home, got a teaching job at Chester. Taught industrial arts there for a long time, and started as an assistant at Chester in the '70s, and finally worked his way up, got the head coaching job in '91, and it was actually Joe Carroll who, I think him and my dad in 1986 got the idea to make me the ball boy.
Nice.
So I did that for 5 years, and that was great. I mean, those were fun memories, and I think it was fun for my dad to have me on the sideline, and it was fun for me to, I looked up at those Chester players like heroes. They were kind of larger than life to me, and they kind of took me in. They looked out for me, and I don't think I was a great ball boy. I think I probably wasn't paying attention half the time, and the refs were getting mad at me, but it was fun. It was fun being out there, and fun sharing that experience with my dad and seeing the influence that he had on all those players.
Joe Carroll, total legend.
Yeah, Joe's a great guy.
He's all over.
Yeah.
I see him at the Wawa. He's still all over the place.
He's a great guy.
People love him. Your dad touched so many Chester people and players. Of course, he recently passed away.
Yeah.
And just the memorial was just unbelievable. I know that you were keeping in touch with. It was tell us about that.
Yeah. James Peaches Howard. I reached out to him. He runs a Chester page on Facebook, and I was like, "Can you get?" This was when we knew my dad had only a few days left. I said, "Is there any way people could reach out and give him some well wishes?" And it was awesome how many people chimed in with testimonials, and I got a chance to read them to Dad in the hospital, and the tears were flowing pretty good, and it meant the world to him. It meant the world to all of us, and that was pretty awesome to get to see that love that they still had for him. 30 years, 40 years after he had coached them, it was great. And as dark as that period was, having to watch our dad pass away, the Chester Clipper Nation provided a lift that I don't think they'll ever know how much it meant to my dad and the whole family.
Well, Peach, James Howard, talking about that longtime assistant coach. Your dad got him into the program, assistant coach, 1994. His last year there, did Coach Don. And Peach has been doing an unbelievable job. He's a longtime public address announcer for Chester High basketball.
I did not know that.
And girls basketball. And I've been, since I moved back from Lewistown, PA, Mifflin County Radio, summer 2015, I've been the public address announcer for Chester High football. Mm-hmm. So it's really, the A field is still, what a historic facility that is.
I loved it there, and a lot of great memories being on that field and sitting in the stands before I was the ball boy. Yeah, I mean, I always loved the view there with the bridge in the distance there.
Commodore Barry Bridge.
Yeah.
Me and my wife cross it a lot going down to Avalon, the Jersey Shore.
That's where we spent some time down there too. So
Avalon?
small world, yeah.
There it is. There it is. A beautiful area. Yeah. Again, you're watching Monday Night Delco Sports 360. Dave Burman, Chris Masse, pride of Delco, longtime Williamsport Sun-Gazette sports writer. Our sponsors for the entire organization here, production facility, everything at CMP. Northern Marketing, Pressure Inc., KC Electric, and Cat Center. Leslie is the producer here tonight behind the scenes, doing a marvelous job. And don't forget, check out their website, cmpradio.net. All the shows are archived, so your people up all over will be able to watch it and give us a grade.
We're gonna try to boost the ratings. I'm gonna try to be a ratings boost for you guys.
That'd be awesome. So right now it's
hopefully I don't have the greatest sex appeal, so hopefully that doesn't drag the ratings.
you're doing good,
down,
man. You're doing good. In radio, 7:16, 16 after 7 o'clock radio TV. This is great here. Chris, so back to Dad. After 1994, his last year with Chester High, then where did Don go?
He retired from teaching a few years after that, and he actually helped out. He was a scout for I still call him Mr. Ricky for Mike Ricky at Garden Valley for a few years. So he was helping them out and really got heavily involved with the Knights of Columbus. St. Cornelius Church was our parish, and actually became the Grand Knight there of the Knights of Columbus, and devoted countless hours of service to that. So that kind of became a passion for him, and that was awesome to see. He was always about giving back. I think that's when he was happiest. He was happiest making other people happy, and football. Teaching was a passion for him, and I think the Knights of Columbus and doing other community activities allowed him to keep giving back, and I think that really made him happy.
You're down here visiting your mother. Behind every good man is a great woman. Let's talk about your mom.
She was a teacher also at Sun Valley for 35 years. She graduated from Radnor, I think a year after my dad graduated from Chester. I think she's 62. And they're kind of like fire and ice. My dad he's kind of passionate, and my mom's passionate, but she's so nice. And I don't think any outside of me, who got yelled at a lot growing up, which was warranted, I don't think she's ever had a bad word to say about anybody. She's one of the nicest people you ever meet. And because I was friends, because I grew up in the Delco school district, she ended up teaching a lot of kids that I was friends with, that I had went to school there for a while, and they loved her, and she was always there for my dad and vice versa. It was always a happy household. Those two did whatever they could to make me and my brother Donald happy, and I wouldn't be here today without them, so they were definitely the rocks in my hero. Growing up, Joe Montana, 49ers, those guys were my heroes, but when you get to a certain age, you realize you don't know those people, and it's the people that inspire, the people that you're living with inspired me the most, and thankfully I realized that and can convey that to them.
I'm very envious of you because I'm an Eagles fan, and I have 4 world championships.
You've won one more recently than the Niners.
And they're world championships, folks. 48, 49. 1960 with Concrete Charlie, Chuck Bednarik, your dad's senior year.
And my dad was a huge Dutchman. Norm Van Brocklin loved him. He loved him. That's one of his favorite players.
Franklin Field, you thought the vet was nuts. Franklin Field was crazy.
I can imagine.
Crazy. Still there. Looks beautiful.
Yeah. We ran the Penn Relays there my senior year, and that's what a facility, what an awesome opportunity that was.
Still, yeah. So, and then, of course, we won the Super Bowl World Championship, as I like to call it, 2017-18, the Eagles. But your 49ers, I know you're passionate because I saw you on Twitter. I was worried about you. I didn't want you really get upset. I mean, not upset, but you're like.
I get upset. There's a shrink. There's got to be a psychiatrist or something that could diagnose me with something, because I truly lose my mind during the games, especially in the playoffs.
So with the social media stuff, you don't do it on Facebook too much, I don't think.
Yeah, not as much.
But the Twitter thing.
Twitter, yeah.
You were getting a little fired up. What game was it? They made it to the...
All of them they should have made it to the Super Bowl. They blew the NFC Championship.
Right.
They were up 10 points in the fourth quarter, and everybody was telling me they're going to do it. They're going to go to Super Bowl. I said, I've seen Kyle Shanahan blow leads in big games before. I'm pretty confident
You're
he's
really
getting
on his
again.
case.
Unfortunately, it happened.
You've won 5 Super Bowls, I believe.
Yeah, 5.
5.
Yep.
Steve Young, 95.
Yep,
and
that was
then
the last one.
Joe Montana, and I'm sure you know where he went to high school.
Ringgold.
And you know that he played against Chester in the state tournament. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
And I have the article and everything.
Wow.
I have pictures.
That's awesome.
1973. 1973.
Wow.
Herman Harris and those guys, Len Gordy, they were seniors. We got beat by Stu Jackson and Reading in the semifinals. So they had like a consolation back then, a consolation with the semifinal losers, and it was Ringgold who lost to General Braddock, who eventually beat Reading by 1 point. Stu Jackson, still doing his thing.
Yep.
And then Chester ended up playing Ringgold in the consolation game, and Ringgold beat him and Joe Montana. So there you go.
He was he did it all. I think he had Division I scholarships and all. And
did he win a
baseball,
national
football.
championship at Notre Dame?
1977.
Okay, right after Tony Dorsett from Hopewell did it for the University of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So there you go. We're going on and on here. So again, you're a big 49er fan. So your dad touched a lot of lives, and it's great. How often do you come down to see your family here?
Yeah. Try to come down every couple of months. It's hard with the job because it's a grind, and usually during the high school season, I'm not able to take much time off. So usually in the summer months, I try to get down here.
Williamsport from here got to be at least 4 hours.
It's 3. It used to be longer. I think some of the roads they improved.
Which way do you go up? You go
up Blue Route 476 to I-80, and that
I-80 and then over. Yeah,
pretty much takes me there.
So you graduated Penn State main campus, 1999, and just missed the Chester Williamsport 99 state quarterfinal with Jameer Nelson and Taurus Johnson and you guys.
Chevy Troutman.
Chevy. And a great guy, Derek Slaughter.
He's the mayor of Williamsport.
He is the mayor of Williamsport. Yeah. He awesome.
He's a great guy.
Muhammad Cannon. He was a loose cannon. But he was a great player.
They were loaded.
They were loaded, and Chester gave him a good game.
Yep.
Live with Gary and Babe. Mm-hmm. And did Gary retire from Gary Chrisman and Babe?
This past year, yep. Both of them did.
Are they still doing any play-by-play?
No, not it. Gary retired from doing. He still has the radio show that he does every morning.
Gotcha.
They're not doing the play-by-play anymore.
So that's Jimmy Webb,
Jim Webb, and Paul Bowe.
Paul Bowe, who does wrestling too, right?
Yeah. He's gotten to meet a lot of my heroes.
Yeah. So Paul Bowe, there you go. A lot of shouts out.
Yep.
A lot of shouts. So you're at Williamsport. You start off 99, 2000, your first year. How did you get used to being from Delaware County, which is crazy, a lot of traffic, even the Garden Valley area, to Williamsport, which is still, to me, a small town.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because most of the school we cover, 20 different schools, but Williamsport's the only 6A school we cover, so it's mostly small towns, and I love that. One of the reasons my dad wanted to move from Brookhaven to Garnet Valley was because he thought it was getting too built up here, and he wanted to be away from that, kind of be in a small town, and that's kind of in my blood too. I kind of love that small town community atmosphere.
So you're married?
Yep, since 2002.
And you have 2 children?
One.
The
My
daughter.
wife would say we have 2 children.
You and her, you and the daughter.
Gotcha. I'm harder to deal with.
How old is your daughter?
She's 15. She'll be 16 in August.
She a
Crazy.
lady millionaire or whatever you want to call it?
South Williamsport, Mountie.
Okay. South Williamsport actually is a town.
Yeah, that's where people think. Yeah, that's the south of Williamsport. Yeah, it's its own separate town.
Little League World Series.
Yep.
Little League World Series.
And we'll tell you, I live in South Williamsport. It is. They always say the road to Williamsport. The series is actually played in South Williamsport, so I get why they do it. It sounds good, but I'm a stickler for it. So when I do the date line, it's always South Williamsport.
All right. Well, Chris Masse graduated Garnet Valley High School in 1995. Dad, Don, was head coach at Chester High, 91 through 94. And since summer of 99, just like that, you got the job at the Williamsport Gazette. But you trained a little bit here in Delco, the Delco Times. You want to give Terry Toohey, McCaffrey, and those guys a shout.
Yes.
Harry Chaikin.
And especially Terry. And it's funny how life works out. Mike Rickey had me in English class, and we had a guidance counselor in one day, and we were broken into small pairs. She's asking us what we want to do, and I happened to be sitting near his desk, and he heard me say, I think I'd like to try sports writing. So he got me involved in the student newspaper, and he touched base with Terry Toohey, who set me up with a gig at the Daily Times where I worked for a couple of summers. And yeah, I got to meet Jack and Harry. Harry was he was a great guy to work with. Jack, I don't think was there a lot. I think him and Dennis Deach were covering the Phillies then.
Right.
And then, so Terry, Greg Greenday I worked with a lot. Harry, those were the three main guys.
Too bad you didn't stay because they could use a guy like you. You're writing your articles are so in depth, and especially when they get to the state tournament, your teams, a district tournament, you're just the stats are like unbelievable. It's like you're a sports information director for these schools.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I always tell people it's the next best thing to actually play, and that's what I wanted to do growing up. And
Right.
there comes a time when you realize you need some talent to play professionally.
Yeah. Can you see those little comments there? I mean, can you see what they're saying? Mark Francis says, good evening, fellas.
Good evening, fellas.
You probably have better eyesight than me.
Yeah, Joshua Shockley.
And he says,
he's got
well,
the
thank you.
fellas with the fifth.
If anybody has any questions for Chris, let us know. Some of the guys that might have played football for his dad, Don, at Chester High, 91, 92, 93, 94. So you covered 20 high schools.
Yep.
In the Williamsport area. You got Williamsport, South Williamsport, Muncie?
Muncie, yep.
Ed Ott's hometown.
Yeah.
79 Pirates, world champ.
Yeah, and Montoursville it's amazing. Montoursville's like 5 minutes away from us, and just from that little town, we've got Mike Mussina, who's in the Hall of Fame, Kelly
Mazzani,
who's the all-time Big Ten leading scorer, and Tom O'Malley, who played in the majors. And
Giants,
yeah, and played for my Orioles too a little bit, and he was a legend over in Japan. He went over there and played, and when he actually cut an album. He's so big over there, they asked him to do an album, and he did one for him. So, yeah, small area, but we've produced some big-time athletes.
Yeah, my wrestling announcer on my Lewistown, Mifflin County days, Bob Hauer, met Tom O'Malley recently at Ed Ott at a function, and it was
they're great guys. Great guys.
Talking about the old time. So, yeah, now Mike Mussina, is he still coaching the boys basketball, right?
He did. Now he was up until his youngest son graduated last. He didn't coach this past year. His brother Mark is the head coach now.
Okay.
But Mike did a great job. That program had really fallen on hard times, and he built them up. And by his third year, they were in the district semifinals. By his fifth year, they were champions and won 2 titles in 3 years. So he did it. He's a Hall of Fame pitcher, but he knows a little bit about basketball.
Now,
too.
You saw Bonner play this year.
Yep.
Okay, against Montoursville.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
And I was shocked. They are absolutely insanely loaded, and they got up.
They're a great team.
Lost to Holy Ghost Prep.
Yep.
District 1, Ben Salem, and then there you go. Public school beat them. Montour. So it can happen, and we'll get to that in a second with the football and the private schools, public.
Yep.
And Garnet Valley and Strathaven had to deal with that in football this year. So who was the head coach, baseball coach for Montoursville?
Now it's Jeremy Eck, and he was the coach at Loyal Sock.
That's right.
He won 2 district titles in 2013 and 14.
He won states, didn't he? With
13 and 14 at Loyal Sock.
With
Kyle Datris.
Got a picture with Kyle.
Jim Webb's son.
Oh my gosh!
They were awesome, and this ties into what we're going to be talking about later. They almost won 3 in a row. They got to the state semifinals and lost to Newman Goretti that year. So they were really close to 3 in a row. But then Jeremy is a Montoursville grad, so he went back to his alma mater, and now they've won 3 district titles in 4 years with him at the helm.
Nice. All right, Chris, what about other schools that you cover? Montgomery softball. So these are like small little towns, Montgomery, Montoursville, Muncie. Oh, and how about our buddy Ron Inzinger? Finally won a state championship, boys basketball, and they played Strathaven a couple years ago. My Strathaven people would remember that game, and they're he's unbelievable. And what a great guy he is.
He's awesome. He's so fun to deal with, to work with on a regular basis. And all-time wins leader in Pennsylvania, and just his resume is unbelievable. It's like reading a Dickens novel. He's got like an .835 winning percentage in 47 years of coaching, 28 district titles, about 30-some league titles, and really the state championship was the only thing missing from that resume. And to see them get it and follow them, cover them every playoff game along the way. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun watching that.
He's coming back, I hope.
He says, he doesn't have a timetable on it. He keeps telling me, when he'll know when it's time to step aside. And, he only had one starter back this past season from that state championship team, and they won districts again and got to the second round of state. So it's like a factory there. They just roll them off the assembly line, and success breeds success, and they keep going strong.
Small town of Loyalsock.
Yep.
Are they all like, they're not steel up there? A little bit of coal, or is it just not far?
Coal region's further down. It's about 50 miles from us. We used to be, Williamsport they're the millionaires because of the lumber industry there.
Oh, there you go. What a great name.
That's one of the best mascots around. It had the top hat for the logo and the millionaire nickname. It's fun. I thought they were joking with me when I first went up there, and they said, "Yeah, they're called the Millionaires." I said, "No, really. What are they called?" So
exactly.
It's a great name.
Oh, you had Pete White was the head coach. The Chester guys remember him, and then a guy that won us. I don't know if this has ever been done before, so I'm glad you're here. Mike Bailey. Mm-hmm. He coached Allen Iverson's team. Yep. I was at the game because I was a radio announcer down in Virginia. He played for Bethel High School, Iverson, in Hampton, 1993. Won the AAA state championship. Mike Bailey was the coach. Mike's originally from Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And then he comes up to Williamsport and he wins a state championship in 99. I don't know if anybody's ever won 2 state championships for public schools in different states.
Yeah. I know nobody that I've worked with or been associated with in my 23 years. I've never worked with anybody that's done that. We had a coach he coached Kawaneski Valley football, which is really, really small town in our northern tier. His name was Mike Schmidt, not the Mike Schmidt.
Not Michael Jack Schmidt.
But he had won a couple of state titles in Denver and built Kawaneski Valley to have one of its best years ever last year, but now he's back in Denver, so that would have been the closest if he had won a state title here.
So Williamsport basketball, I mean, they're on an island. I mean, yet they're so, I guess your district in football was Altoona. It went through District 6 last year.
It used to be District 2 because everything else is District 2, like the Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area.
So, and Paul Bowe's actually a Hazelton guy. You're an announcer up there. He's
and
proud of it. They beat Chester at 93 state semis. Leslie, I'm sorry, I'm bringing up some stuff from back in the day here. But when you get like Chester High basketball, I told you before the show, 8 state titles, 18 PIAA state championships, most ever for public schools, and you grew up with it. And do you remember going to some basketball games back in the day?
Yeah, not too many, but I remember going with my mom and dad to. I remember one year, might have been '86. I remember him playing Ridley and Matt Blunden. Was a star for Ridley back then.
Yes, he was.
And I remember watching that, and I remember that was an awesome game. And so the memories are kind of fuzzy because I was younger, but I do remember some. But I remember some huge crowds.
Well, I was a radio announcer in Carlisle during the Billy Owens era. Covered the Thundering Herd. 85, they won the state champion. They won 4 in a row with Billy Owens. You know all about that. Mm-hmm. All 4 years, they beat Delco teams in the state semis. Chester 3 times, and Blunden and Ridley. And Jim Falcone was on that. His daughter plays sports, I think, and a son for Garnet Valley. Jim Falcone was on that Ridley team in '86. Boy.
Because I think Ridley beat Chester in that game that I was at. But I don't know. The memory's fuzzy, though. So.
But Chester, that was Alonzo Lewis's first year, actually, 85, 86. They rebuilding, if you want. And they still went to the first round of the state. So, oh, man. So and you got to know our buddy Chuck Cruz, coached at Chester High.
Chuck's great.
And I tried to get him the job up in Mifflin County. Their coach was let go, and I think Chuck applied. They didn't even get back to him in Mifflin County.
That was their loss.
Exactly. And then I remember telling him, Chuck, about the Williamsport Choate, right? Kevin Choate?
Kevin Choate, yep.
He was there because Mifflin County, one of our few wins was against Williamsport. We would crush them.
They had some dark days.
Yes, they did. Amazing. And then I told Chuck to call up. I said I knew Rizzo or Derek Dixon, who played against Eric Evans and those guys, 1995, Ray Carroll. And then Chuck I found he got the job. Yeah. And you remember he covered all 5 years, was he there, or 6? It was 15.
6 seasons, yeah. Actually, 7. I think he was 15 through 2021. 16, 17,
18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, 7 years. 7 so years. Tell us about Chuck, one of the greatest of all time.
He did an awesome job there, too. Yeah, he's a great guy. I dare anybody to spend a few minutes with Chuck and not enjoy his company. He's great to talk to and great to work with.
He's pretty blunt. I like that.
Yes, he won't sugarcoat it. He will tell you exactly how he's feeling. And but yeah, I love that about him. And I think the first time I met him, I covered his first game. They played Central Mountain, and they won that game pretty easily. And telling him about my Chester roots, I think.
Right away.
Right away. We hit it off. And he did an awesome job. He inherited a team that was 2-8 the year before, and they had won, I think, 5 games in 3 years. And his first year there, they went 6-5. Next year, 2016, I still say this was the best football team in our area that I've covered since 1999.
Potts. Was that Potts' senior year?
That was only his sophomore
year.
So they went to the state quarterfinals, lost to
Pittsburgh Central Catholic. And they played. I thought they played okay.
They did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, and that was an awesome Williamsport team. They were so fun to watch. It was like watching a video game.
Beating State College was huge.
They did. That was a great win.
That was a really good state.
Yeah, and that was a really fun game to watch. So. And then they were snake bitten after that.
Injuries.
I told him last year, I said, I've never seen a team so snake bitten every year, would just get ravaged by injuries. And poor Tracy Potts, he had sophomore year in 2016. He runs for 2,000 yards.
Right.
Tears his ACL in the preseason. His junior year, came back, was having a good senior year, and tore his ACL again. But now God bless him. He's at Minnesota and really doing well.
Yes,
there.
he is.
And but yeah, Chuck did a great job. He totally revitalized that program, him and his coaching staff. And yeah, sorry to see him go. It was a lot of fun there.
Joshua Shockley, he's talking. Can you read that, Chris? Yeah. It says, Chris,
what's the chances of us being able to link up to run a day camp with some of our? I can't see the rest of it.
I'm also, okay. It's a long message here.
With some of our children and coaches.
Are they camp up in Williamsport, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know if he means Williamsport or not. Well, if you're listening, Josh, shoot me an email or you can hit me up on Facebook too, and we can try to figure that out for you.
Nice. I always wanted
I
wanted Williamsport to play Chester in football, but
I would have loved that. And my dream in that 2016 season, Williamsport was going through the West, and Garnet Valley was on the East, and they both got to the quarterfinals. I knew it was a long shot, but that was my dream, was to see Williamsport and Garnet Valley and Hershey.
Garnet Valley, that's where you graduated from again, 1995. In case you were just joining us at 20 minutes away from 8 o'clock, we have 20 minutes to go. Chris Masse, longtime sports writer, the Williamsport Sun-Gazette. What other schools you cover up there?
We cover a lot of them. Jersey Shore
is
the one that's become a football powerhouse, and that's a great story too, because
Tom
they were
Gravish.
Terrible.
Tom, right.
Yeah, Tom has done an unbelievable job.
I got to know him very well because he was at Bellefonte.
Yeah.
And when I was on the radio up in Lewistown and Indian Valley. So, Jersey Shore, they made a run to the States.
Yeah, they got to the final in 2020. And they've actually been in the semi. They made it to the Final Four 3 straight years. And in 2020, they got to the final and lost to Thomas Jefferson.
Sherpeck again.
Yeah, and it was an awesome game. They got it down inside the 20-yard line with a chance to. He said they would have went for 2. They lost 21-14, and he said if they would have scored there, he would have went for 2. But yeah, that was a program that I think had won 10 games in like 7 years combined. And his first year they went winless. But I remember writing a column. I said, you could tell that something good was brewing, and they were really young. I said, let them work, let them develop this program. Next year, they won districts, and they've just become a state powerhouse since then. It's fun to watch. So those are just people always are like, oh, you cheer for this team or that team. We don't cheer for any. We're neutral. We root for good stories. And a rags to riches story like that's the kind of story you dream about writing.
Yeah, you're very passionate on Twitter. You really get into it, man.
Yeah, I love Twitter because, in the newspaper, we're limited by space. On Twitter, I'm not. I can say what I want. And I always tell people that, my philosophy is when I was playing, if I saw my name in a box score, I got excited. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I try to write from that perspective and try to give as many kids a shout out in the story, in the paper, and on Twitter to try to give them that similar kind of excitement.
Give those athletes a lot of credit up there in the Williamsport area, very rural, and they have to travel a little bit to go to the camps and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate, our kids here in this area.
Yeah, and that's
because it's so close, Delco and Chester County.
It's a little more isolated up there, but the sports in that area have really, I think, bloomed over the years, and it's a fun area to watch. I love the area because the people are so passionate about their sports, and that's what I like about it. And I said when Williamsport was supposed to be the pit stop, I was going to start here for 3 years,
right, and
then go to eventually get to Sports Illustrated or cover the Niners or something.
They're still young. It could happen.
I fell in love with the area, and I absolutely love writing about high school sports because everything's so real, and the kids are playing for the love of the game. And now, truly, I would rather do this than cover. As much as I love the Niners, I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now. I would rather do that than deal with all the stuff you got to deal with at the professional level.
Right. You cover you do track and field up there, obviously. And Chuck Cruz's son, Charles, did a great job there. Yeah. He had an unbelievable year. So did Williamsport in high school wrestling. And you cover that pretty close, too.
Yeah, well, I'm not a wrestling writer, but my beats are girls and boys basketball. But yeah, we talked about rags to riches. That's another one. Williamsport wrestling really fell on hard times, and they've had a meteoric rise the last couple of years. And they finished third in the state this year, and Charles was a big part of that. He had an awesome season, and yeah, Williamsport wrestling is definitely on the map now.
Chris, it's so hard to get to the state tournament. And then we're going to talk about the public versus private. You've made your comments known about that. You do have a private school. They did a great job. Went to the state finals this year. St. John Newman, Jamie Spencer, 2 years there.
Yeah,
then he left, and that's a long story, I guess. Sad. I love Jamie. What a job he did. Yep. They lost to they're private too, but they lost to a private school.
Yeah.
In the state finals.
Yep.
But they can recruit the entire city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that helps.
That's a little different. Yeah. That's a little different. So public, private. What would you do?
It's a tough one. I mean, for a long time I said you got to separate them. And then there was a proposal to do that a couple years ago, and I thought that doesn't work either because there's not enough. Technically, the charter schools are public, so they're going to fight that, and they're going to say, well, you can't put us in the private division. And it's just the schematics would be hard because you would have really small private school tournaments, and so I don't think that's a good option. I think what we were talking about before the show is you move a lot of them up to 6A, because you look at a lot of these schools, like Imhotep, now I know they're 5A now, but before this competitive formula that they have now, them and Constitution, Math Civic Sciences, Newman Goretti, they were all AA or 1A, and there's just no way you can compete as a true small public school when you're graduating 60 or 70 kids and you're playing these all-star teams that are getting
it's pretty much all-star teams.
Yeah, and they literally can get them from anywhere in the world. There's no boundaries.
Yeah, Chester, we just found out Chester football staying 5A, but the basketball, I guess because of the success thing? Because they're back-to-back state semifinals is 6A. I don't know how they work out the numbers there. But you would think that the Imhoteps, 9 state titles in 15 years, Newman Goretti, 9 for 9 in state titles. That's insane. It's great. It's great, but it's you would think they would be 6A to the limit, and Romans 6A and Wood, and they just don't draw out there. They don't draw in Central PA. Yes, they draw at the Palestra, 7, 8, 9, 10,000. But what do your people up there think about it?
They don't like it either, and Newman is caught in the middle of it where, and they do. I mean, you can't deny they do have an advantage. They can get kids from all over Williamsport and Lycoming County and wherever. So while it's not as much of an advantage as it is in the Philly or Pittsburgh area, it's still an advantage, especially at the 1A level. So I've been hearing about it for a long time, but I just don't like where you have a system where it's inherently flawed. People can say, oh, they don't recruit and whatever. And it doesn't. That's beside the point.
They say the kid recruited us.
Yeah, which we know what that is. But
it's not just Chester. It's Garnet Valley. The public schools, it's tough.
It's just if you're a public school, you're inherently at a disadvantage because they can go. You're restricted by a boundary. The private schools aren't. I mean, it's just not a fair fight. It's not a fair system.
Football season last year, Strathaven, tremendous year. They went to the 5A state semis, played Imhotep Charter, and it was 36-0 Imhotep. And the mentality, then Garnet Valley, maybe the best team ever.
They were unbelievable. I watched the game against Coatesville, and they just a machine.
Exactly, and last year was my first year public address guy for Coatesville football, and Coatesville was really, really tough.
Exactly.
And they tried Coatesville, but the Garnet Valley was just a machine. And then they had to play young St. Joe's Prep team. And as it turned out, that's all I heard all week. We're going to struggle again. And they got blown out too.
Yeah.
But in the state finals, 2 public schools, non-recruiting schools, Mount Lebanon, Bob Palco, had some great games against Strathaven back in the day with West Allegheny.
Absolutely.
All right, so Bob took over, and Mount Lebanon beat up
St.
Joe's Prep pretty bad, and then Imhotep lost in overtime to Penn Trafford. So those are how did those schools do it? I mean,
and I think a lot of what you said, I think there is a lot of psychological stuff because I think a lot of times teams are beaten before they get on the field, and I know. I used to complain. I still complain about it, but I used to, even before our teams played some of these powerhouse private schools, I would write a column and say how unfair it is. And I think that didn't help the teams in our area because I think they bought into that before they took the court or the field, and whether or not they believed. I think it seeps into your head that when things start going bad, you go, well, this is an all-star team. So I think a lot of it is psychological, but you have to have some awesome teams to be able to pull it off. To Penn Trafford and
overtime.
Yeah,
but Mount Lebanon just now.
Yeah, and that's
as good as Harrisburg's going to be this year, and down here we're going to have somebody in 6A, Coatesville, loaded, North Penn. St. Joe's Prep is reloaded.
They're always there.
They're always going to be there.
There's no such thing as rebuilding when you can go out and get whoever you want, whenever you want, and that's the flaw in the system, and that's what has to be addressed. I know they're trying with this competitive formula, but there's flaws in that. There's always going to be a flaw when you have schools that have to be restricted by boundaries and those that don't.
It was really funny because in the basketball state finals, Aliquippa lost. They got beat up pretty good in their, I think, the Devon Prep.
Yeah, that was who finished third down here, I think.
Exactly, in the Philadelphia Catholic League. And then you had Roman ended up playing Wood in the state finals.
Yep.
Hardly anybody at the game at the Giants Center. Yep. And the talent, it's unbelievable. And the coaching is great. I mean, there's no doubt that Catholic, they're some of the top-notch coaches around. 5A was Imhotep beat Newcastle by 15. And then Newman Goretti blasted Quaker Valley from Pittsburgh.
Who was undefeated?
Undefeated, kid going to Kentucky. And so the coaches, and Mike White, you probably met him on the trail. He's been there like 30 years at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He just got, they really upset those coaches.
They did.
They were Blundo at Newcastle, and I'm like, it's kind of weird though because he did beat LaSalle College in 2014 with Malik Hooker, Blundo, and those guys. No complaints then. So you know what I mean? I your thoughts, because you're right there with these guys. You know.
When I read it, I was like, yes, because I think that's the PIAA needs to hear that. But at the same time, Bob Lombardi handled it very poorly. He said Mike White quoted him.
Oh,
and
yeah,
said,
that's right.
Oh, it's sour grapes. And, I can't believe he said this. He said maybe they should coach better. That was the most tone-deaf, stupid thing he could have said.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And he did. He said it.
He said it.
Lombardi,
Bob. It just went right over his head, and it has nothing to do with coaching. It's just an unfair system. So Bob should have just said no comment, because whatever he said, he was going to lose. But to say that was awful. So I was right with those coaches, and I understand what you're saying, that they waited until they lost to say it. But it's one thing for journalists to say it. It's the coaches and the state legislator, the people, the ones that control things, have to speak up. They've got to be the ones that get the ball rolling. A little guy in Williamsport ranting and raving ain't going to get it done.
And I don't remember any of the coaches up there getting upset. But complain about playing a private school in the States, or
I think they do off the record. I don't think a lot of them complain on the record.
Well, on the record,
those
Mike White. I was in a lot of publications.
That got around the
Tribune Review. They have two papers,
and you don't see a lot of that. Which, like I said, I'd love to see more coaches go on the offensive like that and call out the injustices in the system, because until you do that, nothing's going to get done.
And then the commissioner of the Philadelphia, I think publicly, Lombardi, was loving. He goes, haters will hate, or something like that. I'm like, what did he say that for?
Yeah, you can't.
I just couldn't believe that he said that, and it was really frustrating, and it is tough. But
it's like throwing gasoline on
it. Is Dave Burman, Chris Masse, Williamsport Gazette, grew up here in Delco, Garnet Valley High School grad, 1995. Last few minutes here. Anybody want to give a shout? Any other memories out there? And what? Let's talk about getting a good hoagie and cheesesteak down here.
It's cheesesteaks are good up there, but they're not as good as they are here. And the whole thing there's a lot of Sheetz and Wawa debates, because Sheetz is the big one up where we are.
I saw somewhere Wawa may be going to Harrisburg.
I heard that.
Yeah.
And,
do they have them in Lycoming County?
No, we're all Sheetz. The closest Wawa is the one about halfway here when I get off of I-80 to go on the 476.
Yeah, and
they're both awesome. But
Wawa's
better.
I like Sheetz.
Sheetz is good, but Wawa's better. Sheetz is like Steve Young, and Wawa's Joe Montana.
There you go.
They're both very good, but one's clearly better than the other.
Both world champions.
Yes.
And
I took Steve Young for granted because I always said, we had Joe. Joe won 4, and I never appreciated for Steve Young for how good he is. You don't know what you've got until it's gone.
Are you a Philadelphia fan at all for any of
it? I'll cheer for the Eagles and the Phillies and all the Philly. The Flyers are I don't really get into hockey, but they would be my favorite hockey team. So as long as they're not playing the Niners or Tom Brady, I'm a big Tom Brady fan.
Oh, he's the GOAT, as they call him. I mean, really.
Yeah. And as a Joe Montana fan, I said nobody will ever compare to him, and the torch has been passed. I don't think Joe Brady has like a little edge people don't like. Yeah.
I don't know if he's really cocky, whatever. I've heard he's a really nice guy.
Yeah. I've heard he's a great
but Joe was like just total class act.
He was.
Right there, yeah. Pride of Pennsylvania. So many great quarterbacks from Western PA. You want to talk about, Gary Brown just passed away, went to Williamsport High School. Great player, NFL.
Yeah.
I can't remember what college he went to.
Penn State.
Oh, he did go to Penn State.
Yeah.
Okay, Gary. And you just had a tribute for him recently.
Yeah, at the high school, and had Ezekiel Elliott was there, and trying to remember some of there was a lot of pros that came there. I mean, he was a beloved guy, not just in our community, but he was a phenomenal coach. And DeMarco Murray was there. He won a rushing title under Gary. So everywhere Gary went, he churned out some great running backs. So he was a legend at Williamsport for what he did on the field. But he was an awesome coach too, and really a beloved figure in that community.
Anybody else from Delaware County? Any connections up there over the years that you've met in sports or coaching besides Chuck Cruz?
Yeah, Chuck was really the first one that I remember coming up from these parts into my territory, and it was great.
Right.
We could talk about.
Well, I'm so glad to have you on the
days.
air, man. This has been awesome.
It has been.
And
It's been fun.
Yeah. Anything you want to get out there? Anything you want to say?
No, we were talking about Tom Brady. I always tell people this story. My senior year at Penn State, I worked for the Daily Collegian, and I was one of the football writers, and we went out to Ann Arbor to cover Michigan. That was Tom Brady's first year starting at Michigan, and they started that year 0-2 after winning the title. And he was getting a lot of grief. Anyway, they won 27-0, and it was my job to go to the Michigan locker room that day. And they bring Brady in by himself, and he's up at the podium, and he's just glowing. He's so happy, and I'm like, good for this kid, because he's never going to – this is the highlight of his life here. He's not going to play in the pros, and I was a little off the mark on that one.
Yeah,
so
really.
I like that story, but –
It didn't take long.
yeah.
So he won
Little did I know.
six with the Patriots.
Yep. And then
Within 20 years apart. And then he won with Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And he's coming back.
yeah. And
Is that that's official?
that's official. He's made it official. It's amazing. It's like it's not real. I must say it just doesn't make sense that somebody could get to 10 Super Bowls and win 7 of them.
Right.
Like when Joe played, I thought, my God, 4-0. That'll never be
4-0.
topped. And
Yep.
and he's got 7.
Bradshaw
it's
has
he was 4-0
4-0
also.
also. Minnesota Vikings 0-4. Buffalo Bills 0-4.
That's the rough part. when
And
you're on that
I'm just
side of it.
hoping you have a lot of. I'm sure you have a lot of New York people. It moved.
Yeah, we have a lot of Pittsburgh fans out in my parts. But yeah, New York's big. A lot of Yankees fans, which is annoying.
I know because I want the drought to continue. They have 9
do too.
teams, 9 pro sports teams, and New York. I'm just not a fan. It just goes back to my college days, bandwagon jumpers. You're talking the 70s. So 9 teams, 10 years and a half without a world championship. Yeah. Tom Brady it was a Giants
Eli
with
Manning, lucking out.
He won 2 over Brady. So
frustrating.
yeah. And any other professionals from Lycoming County? Ed Ott, you were talking about.
Yeah. Who's got a World Series ring?
Trying to think of Williamsport.
He's from long time. We had a guy, Jack Losh, from like the 50s and 60s. He was drafted before Bart Starr. He was on the Packers for a little while, and then he got injured, and that was pretty much the end of his career.
Mike Mussina.
Mike Mussina, that's our one Hall of Famer.
Tom O'Malley played in the major leagues.
Alize Johnson played in the NBA for a couple of years. He's the only guy to ever be drafted from our area, which is good. Which is I should say, not from our area. We had Tom McMillan from Mansfield, from Lycoming County.
I remember him.
Yeah,
I'm old enough to remember him. And so you cover Mansfield too.
Yep.
Don't they have their own little paper, a town? Do they have a weekly paper, the other small towns?
They have Williamsport Gazette, because Williamsboro is kind of their rival, and they're about 7 miles away.
So what do you do in the summer? What do you cover in the summer?
We do some Little League, and then obviously we got the series coming up in August, so I'll be all over that. But a lot of it's football stuff. We do a big 100-page football preview magazine, and that stuff has to be done by the first week of August. So, so I'm going to be diving into that pretty quickly.
Well, hopefully,
which is all right, because I love high school football.
And if we need sponsors here for the show, if you're interested in being a sponsor, contact cmpradio.net and Jean-Pierre Bryce. Leslie, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Our engineer here tonight. Can't hear her, but she's over there live in living color. And Chris Masse, Garnet Valley grad.
I forgot to mention, I stole second base on Ben Davis in a play in an all-star game. I wanted to get that in there.
Oh, he's the man. His son's a beast, Malvern Prep.
I've heard. But I think that still bothers Ben to this day. They said, don't run on him. I said, I'm Chris Masse. I run.
Do you see him? You ever run into him?
I haven't seen him since that day.
Do you get the Comcast
easily.
Philadelphia? Do you get Comcast up there?
Yeah, okay. So I've heard him
there you
on
go.
the air.
But you guys do Williamsport, Sun-Gazette, Chris, your TV station's up there. The coverage is, the kids are very fortunate to have you guys.
I appreciate it, yeah. It's fun. It's a passion. It doesn't feel like I'm going to work, so I'm happy with where God brought me in life.
Well, what do you think of CMP, the studios, and what we do here?
It's great.
Yeah.
I wish I could come back. Yeah. It'd be nice.
Next,
come back in town, I'll let you know.
yeah,
and
please,
hopefully I can
please.
come
We can get
back.
updates and maybe a football preview if you're going to be in before that,
it would
because
be a
hopefully
blast.
we got to get the sponsors to keep this baby going through.
I hope you can, because it's great when you can talk about.
Well,
sports in this
when the
area.
spring season comes up, you know what I mean.
And once you get to the fall, and
fall football.
huge. Yep.
Unbelievable. Chris Masse, Williamsport, Sun-Gazette sports writer for 23 years, Garnet Valley grad. And again, everybody, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate
My pleasure.
it.
Thanks for having me.
This hour went fast. Our sponsors, CMPRadio.net, Northern Marketing, Pressure Inc., KC Electric, Cat Center. I'm Dave Burman for Delco Sports 360. We'll see you next time.